Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, let's talk about this controversial text message from former Fox host Tucker Carlson. I'm asking the question, is his text message a sign of the country's decline? We're going to have, I'm going to share with you what the details were and the impact that it has made. Also, there's a new epidemic, that the Surgeon General is warning about and is worried about, the epidemic of loneliness in America. When I break down these numbers, folks, you are going to be blown away by the fact that we are so far apart from one another. And then later on, can we talk a little bit about the new show, The Frequency, that's going to be launching here on the Black Star Network tomorrow. We're going to be checking in with its host, Miss Dee Barnes, and she's going to break it down for us about what the show is all about and how she plans to really hit the frequency on the culture. All right, folks, we got all of that and a whole lot more, so stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in, and happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Folks, we are going to have some great conversations for you. Got my sister, Suzette Speaks, joining us in a few moments, and of course, I got you. So make sure y'all get ready to join us in the conversation as we are streaming live right now on Facebook, Instagram, Black Star Network, and on Amazon News. And we would love to hear what you got to say about these conversations we got lined up for you. All right, let's jump right into it. Let me welcome my sister, Suzette Speaks, who's a TV host, attorney, and all around just great contributor here on The Culture. Suzette, happy Wednesday. How you feeling this afternoon?
Hey, Farajii. Hey, Culture Crew. Here we go. Culture Crew. Happy Wednesday. I'm so excited I can't even get it out. Good to be here. It's always a pleasure to be here on The Culture, and I'm excited about today's conversation.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump right into this, Suzette. First and foremost, the situation around former Fox host Tucker Carlson. He sent out a text message that wrangled the nerves of Fox leadership, Rupert Murdoch, all the way down. And this was one of the text messages. This is based upon the recent filing and that monstrous lawsuit that was waged against Fox by Dominion Voting Systems, where Fox was ordered to pay over nearly $800 million because of the slander related to the big lie that President Trump put out there and that Tucker Carlson, Lori Ingraham, Sean Hannity, and others have put out there on the network. And so it cost the network nearly $800 million. The funny part is that Dominion was actually looking for $1.6 billion. And the other funny part is there is another voting system, Smart Analytics, that is planning to file a lawsuit against the network as well. They're looking for $2.7 billion.
Well, you know you got a case when you ask for that type of money.
It costs when you lie, right?
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this text message because I thought, even though I saw that a lot of people were, of course, depending on who you are, you're excited. You weren't excited about Tucker Carlson getting kicked off. He said something in this text message that was coming from these filings. These text messages were redacted, but now we got the full message. But he said something that I thought was absolutely interesting. Take a look at this, folks. This is what Tucker Carlson said just hours after the January 6th insurrection that happened. He put this out there, and he was just talking to some executives, I believe it was, some leadership or some of his colleagues about what he was seeing. But he said, quote, "A couple of weeks ago, I was watching video of people fighting on the street in Washington. A group of Trump guys surrounded an Antifa kid and started pounding the living shit out of him. It was 3 against 1 at least. Jumping a guy like that is dishonorable, obviously. It's not how white men fight. Yet suddenly I found myself rooting for the mob against the man, hoping they hit him hard or kill him. I really wanted them to hurt the kid. I could taste it. Then somewhere deep in my brain, an alarm went off. This isn't good for me. I'm becoming something I don't want to be. The Antifa creep is a human being. Much as I despise what he says and does, much as I'm sure I hate him personally if I knew him, I shouldn't gloat over his suffering. I should be bothered by it. I should remember that somewhere somebody probably loves this kid and would be crushed if he was killed. If I don't care about those things, if I reduce people to their politics, how am I better than he is? Whoo. Okay, Suzette. What's your thought? What's your take on it? Let me see. All right. We got, look like we missed into that. Folks, I want to get your take on this. What do you think about this text message coming from former Fox host Tucker Carlson? Is it a sign of our decline? Because I find there are a couple of different things here in this situation, folks. A couple of different things. The slippery slope. Here's the first thing. The slippery slope of not seeing people as humans, but seeing people as symbols, as an idea. And I think this is the big part about where we are in this country. And of course, Tucker Carlson certainly contributed to that, always putting out ideology, always putting out certain type of politics, always just kind of reducing people to this idea. And then you start to lose sight of the person's humanity. This is very, very interesting. Crew, I want you to jump in on this conversation and join me. I would love to hear what you have to say as we have this conversation about Tucker Carlson in this text message. Do you think that this speaks volumes, as I think it does, about where we are in the state of our country, the state of humanity in this country? Because if we're starting to look at people, if we're rooting for people to kill people, right? If we're rooting for people to do harm to people, and more importantly, not understanding the other side, not understanding the victim side, not understanding the fact that the person may just be believing in something, but this is supposed to be a free space. And I'm going to say that as a euphemism, like this is supposed to be a free country where people are allowed to believe however they believe until so much so that it doesn't infringe upon other people. So if you are in a situation like this and you are rooting for people to get their heads bashed and you're rooting for people to get harmed and essentially you do not see people as people, it's very, very disheartening. All right, let me go to you, Culture Crew. Let me hear what you got to say. Conscious Thought, you kicked us off, and well, you said cuckold Carlson in his own words. Yeah, bro, in his own words. Now, the fact is that he's trying to find his level of quote unquote humanity in this, right? And I think that's one of the things. But then the other part of it is he hasn't truly acknowledged that he has added to the problem. And I think that is the part that we can't allow to just kind of just let go. We got to figure out, well, not really figure out, but we should have to acknowledge that if you have a platform, I'm blessed with this platform, I'm blessed with this space, right? That whatever is said, whatever you put out there to the people, whatever is spoken of about a various, all of these different situations and things that are happening in our country and around the world, that you have to be accountable, held accountable for what you say, right? And that is the other part about this. That if you put out certain information, if you put out certain energy, if you are lying to people all the time, that you are actually contributing to that person becoming so radicalized in one way or another, right? Or you are contributing to a person not becoming balanced in how they see the world. That when it comes down to physical confrontations like this, that your mind has separated itself from the ideas that you put out there, and then you start to wonder, well, how did the world get like this? Which I don't understand. the world got like this because why? People are consuming information. People are taking in ideas. People are having their personal politics being shaped by talking heads, right? And by those of us in the media and those of us who have platforms. And then we wonder why violence occurs in the street. We wonder why we're seeing what we're seeing here in this country. All right, let me do this. Let me go back to my sister Suzette. Suzette, we got you now? All right, we got my sister Suzette. There we go. Boom, there we go. All right, Suzette. What's your take on Tucker Carlson's text message? Is this a sign of something much bigger happening in our country, a sign of this country's decline?
Well, I think it is a very clear indication of the role that Fox News has been playing in indoctrinating men and women across this nation into believing a certain level of very volatile politics. And I look at it as what someone in leadership like Tucker Carlson, who has been at the top of viewership ratings, not only at Fox as their top producer, if you will, in terms of views, but across the media landscape. He's one or has been one of the top viewed programs for years now. And to see kind of behind closed doors, again, the New York Times is reporting what he purportedly wrote in a text message to a producer to explain how he felt. This was right after the January 6th insurrection. So this text message allegedly was sent January 7th. And what is interesting is all of this is coming out now, Farajii, because of the lawsuit that was filed by Dominion. As you said, they have settled with Fox News for $800 million, but it was so that people like Tucker Carlson could not take the stand or should not take the stand. Now, this is just one of many instances where we've kind of become privy to what he really thinks and what he's really saying when no one is watching. And again, this person, as you pointed out, has an amazing platform and has a job as a journalist to keep things truthful and to keep things honest and hopefully above board. But he's not doing that. Journalists are supposed to be unbiased, but it shows that he has a skewed mindset towards bigotry. And I think this is one of the reasons that you saw right after that $800 million settlement, just about 6 days later, Fox News fired their most popular guy. So in addition to probably what we would have seen come out in a trial to this type of text message, there has to be more. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's sad that this is a part of the news landscape that was like leading the charge against what was a free and fair election here in the United States and has been responsible for the division we've seen due to this type of bias indoctrination that clearly he himself believed. And I'm sure there is a lot more within those documents that Fox News saw. And that's one of the reasons many believe he was let go.
Absolutely. Let me take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation about this, because I still think, Suzette, that when you start to see how your information, whatever you put out there, starts to manifest itself and essentially come back to you, it could be an eye-opening experience. And I don't think that, I'm not looking at Tucker Carlson just as one individual. I'm looking at him as part of a larger part of this population in this country, that we seem to think that we could just say whatever we want to say on any space and any platform, and it doesn't manifest itself in some type of real reality, right? And I think that's the part of it. And the fact that people are becoming more and more radicalized. And I'm not talking about, bombing people in marketplaces. I'm talking about radicalized in their view of the world. Radicalized to the point that we don't trust each other. Radicalized to the point that we don't believe each other. Radicalized that we can hear the truth and yet still call it a lie because our heads are so filled up with so many other different ideas that we're losing sight of what's really important. Folks, we're going to continue the conversation on the other side. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Peace and welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. All right, folks, let's get back into the conversation. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson's message. Some people say it's a racist message because he said that this is not how white people should be fighting. But the fact is that we are at a point in this country where our words are coming back to haunt us. And this is the case that we saw with Tucker Carlson. As we are seeing some new information, a text message that he sent out talking about a situation where he saw some pro-Trump supporters beating up on an Antifa supporter and how he was rooting for the pro-Trump supporter to bash and essentially kill this Antifa kid, as he described them. And then he said in this text message that he had to check himself, and he was wondering, well, what was going on within him that he wanted some type of harm to be against this kid who, even though he may not agree with on ideology, that he's still a human being. I think this is interesting, and to say the least, folks. Let me bring my sister Suzette Speaks back into the discussion. And Suzette, I want to share just a couple of what our beloved crew have to say about this, because folks are checking in and sharing their thoughts. And folks, we want to hear from you. So post your comments on YouTube and on Facebook as we have this discussion. My man, Willie Frazier. Willie, thank you for checking in, bro. You said, remember a lawyer for Lil Chuck Chuck? A lawyer for Lil Chuck Chuck said no reasonable person would or should view his talking points as truth. I would agree with the idea, but that's not consistent with the reality of that man's viewership, his ratings, right? Somebody took what he said as the truth. And here's the thing. What is the metric that folks are using to determine what's truthful and what's not truthful? What's the metric nowadays, right? Like, because I think, Suzette, people don't believe it. A lot of people, if I went outside and said the sky is blue, somebody's going to try to swear me down. There's going to be one person in the audience going to be like, the sky is actually not blue, Farajii. It's pink. You know what I'm saying? And it gets to that place. So what is how do we determine what's truthful and what's not truthful? And at the same time, how do we get to a place where we can say, you know what, this person is spewing a bunch of nonsense, but this person is not?
Well, Willie is right that in prior lawsuits, it has been argued by Fox and by Tucker Carlson's representatives that no reasonable person would believe that he is actually giving accurate news, which again, I cannot stand, because I don't think the average person that is watching a Fox News thinks that it's entertainment purposes only. They're looking at something that looks like news, that sounds like news, although it is highly skewed and hyperbolic, some would say, in terms of what they're describing. There are people that really watch it every night, and that's the only thing they watch, so they believe it. So we have a difficulty, again, starting at a common baseline with people. When I have conversations with people and I'm giving things as facts, they're challenging me, saying, no, Biden didn't win the election. That's not a fact. It was stolen, because not only Tucker Carlson, but all his colleagues over there on Fox News spent tons of airtime day in and day out trying to convince people otherwise, while on their private messages, in their private chats, they were telling each other, oh my gosh, this is crazy stuff, and kind of showing that they didn't believe anything that they were telling millions of people each and every day. So it is a $800 million mistake Let's call it what it is in terms of the settlement. But they did not, Fox News did not have to come out and say, we're sorry, we lied. So that was a part of the settlement that many believe that it did its viewers a disservice, although they now have fired Tucker Carlson, and maybe others might be on the chopping block as well. It's been rumored. However, it still created this type of mindset among Fox viewers that really don't know how to distinguish the fact that what they're saying is not in fact truthful. And I think Absolutely. It has created, such a blurred line for so many that we can't even really have proper discourse, because half the population doesn't believe what the facts are. They are challenging them with their own set of facts. So and that are lies, that are disproven. So it has created kind of this really murky water of discourse where we have political division that we're not even really able to reach people the way that we should be able to reach them, because it would make common sense if they all had the same facts that we're working with.
Look, here's the big term that you just used that we might be taking for granted, quote unquote, common sense.
Exactly.
No, let me say this, like, for real. Like, we always be like, well, people should just use common sense. The old adage is what? Sometimes
not so
sense ain't common. Right?
True.
But see, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, and this is something that I've like I'm a student of in terms of the culture. Who's to say that one person's view and experience in reality is not right? Because that's their view, experience, in reality, right? I can't speak from an older white male's perspective because that's not my experience, right? So if an older white male has a certain view of the world, a certain experience of the world, his reality of how he moves in the world is one way, I can't say that's not right because I'm not in his shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Or after being told night after night on Fox News that he's a victim and that there's, takeover, so-called replacement theory, or that, all these things are happening to him and he has to save his country. In his heart, I think many people who showed up on January 6th showed up because of that lie. They didn't take it as a lie. That they were going to save the country from this illegal president. Many of them really were convinced.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, many of them didn't even take it as a lie. Many of them took it as face value. It comes first and foremost. The thing is called Fox News. So we have already been conditioned to believe that the news is going to give us unbiased, truthful information, right? That's the nature of news. But then the other side of it is that because it has the moniker Fox News on the front, people are going to believe it. Now, here's the human nature side too, Suzette. People are going to listen and watch stuff that assures them of their belief system that they already have. They're not going to watch something that's going to take them completely in an uncomfortable space that's going to challenge how they think and how they see the world. They're just not. That's not natural. We hang out with people. We watch people. We consume information that is in alignment with our values, our experiences, our reality, right? And when the news confirms those things, it's a confirmation bias, that's what it's called. Yeah. But when the news confirms those things, we like, see, yup, boom, exactly, see? And we can't, it's understandable, it's natural, but at the end of the day, it's also a bias.
And on top of that, the algorithm is feeding you things that confirm what you're already interested in. So again, what I'm getting on my Facebook feed, Instagram feed is not what you or the guy in Missouri or in the Midwest somewhere is getting. We are literally getting tailor-made news. And I don't know if that's a good thing, that all of our algorithms are designed really to sell us stuff first and foremost. But as we're Googling, as we're searching things, all of our information, our demographics are being captured so that what we are getting in our news feeds even reflect what you're saying, our internalized bias already. So we don't even realize, oh, I got another news story on the Capitol being, overrun, and how the Patriots were going on a tour. As Tucker Carlson said, it looked like a day in the park, or to paraphrase his sentiment, that there was no violence. And the fact that Speaker McCarthy gave him how many hundreds of hours of footage from the Capitol that day for him to continuously skew the minds of believing Americans. It is really kind of beyond conspiratorial if you think about it, when you are trying to now undo the damage that has been done because there are people that really believe the election was stolen.
And guess what? Guess what? Some black folks may believe the same thing. Conscious Thought, very quickly before we take our next pause, Conscious Thought, you said we are dealing with the demographic, Caucasians and white separatists who have completely abandoned reality. But guess what? Can we say the same thing for black people? If we have the conversations, and look, the crew, when we have various conversations, there's so much debate about how we're going to get political liberation, how we should go about getting some sort of, social justice, about economic prosperity. There are groups of people within the black community that can fall in the same place, that we're disconnected and have abandoned reality. I think this is, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is not a black and white thing. I think America has created its own enemy, right? I think in this country, as much as we want to believe that the enemy is coming from some foreign country or some other place, the reality is the enemy is sitting right next to us. The enemy is living in the same neighborhood. The enemy is the information that we all have been consumed and all have been affected by, to the point where we are just totally like, oh my gosh. We don't know which way is up. We can't tell if the sky is blue or the grass is green.
Some would agree with your previous point, therefore, Farajii, that this R word of radicalization is being a key factor as to why we have this kind of mentality of what our viewer just described. Yeah. Would it have occurred but for the radicalization every night by the likes of some like Tucker Carlson? I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation about this and so much more. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage. as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about Tucker Carlson's text message and how it may be a sign of decline for the country. Got my sister Suzette Speaks, TV host and attorney, joining me, of course, on this Wednesday. But you brought up this point, Suzette, talking about being radical. I just had to take a look at it. Like, what does it mean when we say we are being radicalized? And that means essentially to have a very extreme view of a political or social issue, of any issue, right? Have an extreme view without considering other people's interests or other people's perspective about the same issue, right? And even more so than that, that not only just having this extreme view, that you would go and put yourself in very dangerous and violent situations to try to prove that your view is the right way, or to try to express your view in that way. So when we're talking about radicalization, and of course, I think one of our crew members brought up this point, that it's often used to describe Muslims and what we see in Arab culture. But that can happen across the board, whether you're Muslim or Christian, whether you're Jewish or not. We all can be radicalized. And I think with Tucker Carlson and the way that this whole situation has played out, this was him realizing that he was, as one crew member said, he was drinking his own Kool-Aid, and he got affected. It's like when you start believing your own BS, right? Or they say in communications, you start to believe your own media, press release. It's like you start taking on this thing that you have been professing for so much. Now it has become so much of a part of your, not just your thinking, but even down to your very actions.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Farajii. If Tucker Carlson could have been himself drinking his own Kool-Aid, so to speak, and coming from such a well-to-do, well-established, long historied family in America, having had the education he's had, having had the exposure he's had, and he still was susceptible to this type of thinking, wishing, people he saw online based on their race or ethnicity, be beat up by a mob, and then saying white men don't fight that way, and wanting to have this kind of, I'm sorry, again, we have these colloquialism, white knight mentalities about how much better white men's behavior should be. But in fact, it wasn't. Thanks to you, sir. Thanks to your daily indoctrination and slowly letting people believe and misleading them to believe that somehow what they were afraid of is justifiably something that they could pinpoint and blame and actually commit acts of violence against others, as he framed it in terms of immigration policy and all the things he's always talking about, the invasion and these kind of dog whistle and buzzwords that he's using to dehumanize other people, many of whom are actually also American. So when he's talking about replacement theory every night and having people believe that there were people that were coming in to replace what he called legacy Americans. These are buzzwords, and they know who they're talking about. Although we are all Americans if we pledge that allegiance and have, become, whether naturalized or born here, a part of this tapestry, this American melting pot, is what we once said. But yet to think that he himself was so skewed in his mentality. Think about what he did to the average Joe, watching him every single night. And that's now what we're contending with. The CIA, the FBI has talked about one of the major threats in our country being homegrown, radicalized. They're calling, white extremists. This is their words in terms of what are real issues and still a huge problem for us as a country. So how do we undo this mess? I'm not sure I have the solution directly, but one of them is, thank goodness, someone like Tucker Carlson is off the air. But I will add, there is a bidding war now to get him, because his audience is still looking for Fox. Basically, according to the lawsuit with Dominion, just decided to give people what they wanted to hear, not the facts, not the truth, not unbiased evaluation of circumstances. But if they wanted, that red meat of, lies, they said, as a business model, let's just keep giving it to them. Until now, they've had to pay for it, and therefore may pivot to a new or a less radical direction. But the damage has been done, Farajii. There are people sitting at home right now, mad, feeling like their quote unquote country has been taken over. And again, we can go back to even the election of President Trump with that whole insinuation of making America great again.
Well, let me just say that to that point, and this is something that I was reading, the New Yorker had an article yesterday talking about Rupert Murdoch and Logan Roy from one of my favorite shows, Succession, and talking about how those characters match up and then how they don't match up. But one of the things that they said in that New Yorker article was that the CEO of Fox News made the point. She said, fact-checking Trump is bad for business.
Well, that's what they decided.
This is the CEO of Fox News.
Yeah.
Not Rupert Murdoch, but this is the CEO, even though, I'm not. But I'm making a point that the news division for Fox is saying fact-checking Trump is bad for business. He went on the record in saying that. So it speaks volumes about where we are in this country. Now, I want to throw this another thing before we take our next pause, that, I do want to shed a light on, as much as we're seeing all of this stuff happening on the political and social side, the Surgeon General has just announced yesterday, Suzette, that the next epidemic that's facing America is loneliness. Folks, I want you to take a look at this. Keenan, let's put up quote 1 for this. Widespread loneliness in the U.S. poses health risks as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes daily, costing the health industry billions of dollars annually, according to the U.S. Surgeon General yesterday. He said about half of U.S. adults say they experience loneliness. This is from Dr. Vivek Murthy in an 81-page report from his office. He says, we now know that loneliness is a common feeling that many people experience. It's like hunger or thirst. It's a feeling the body sends us when something we need for survival is missing. Millions of people in America are struggling in the shadows, and that's not right. That's why I issued this advisory to pull back the curtain on the struggle that too many people are experiencing. Here's why. Because, very quickly, because we are living in a time where information is put out there about all these different groups of people, and nobody trusts nobody. We are alone. Right? We are afraid, right? We are in a space where we want to stay in our own echo chamber in some cases. And then we are in a space where the distrust among Americans in this discussion, in this country, is so high. So when we talk about we can talk about Tucker Carlson and how he wanted to hurt people. It is no surprise that people are feeling more and more lonely in this country than ever before. No surprise. I'm not surprised at all. And I got to take a quick pause, but Suzette, I want to get your take on it. Crew, I want to hear from you about this as well, as we talk about the new epidemic of loneliness in America, how more people are becoming lonely, and more importantly, how more young people are becoming lonely in this country. So let's have that little part of the discussion as well. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Farajii Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We are talking about loneliness being the new epidemic facing the country, as the Surgeon General has just announced it yesterday, that this is one of the public health risks that is more deadly than smoking. Wow, more deadly than smoking. Suzette, let me bring you back into this. What do you make of this? Because I think there is a connection between this political social division and the fact that we are so lonely in this country, right? Well, I think there's a connection. I can't assume you think there's a connection. So do you think there's a connection to it?
Absolutely. I do think that human beings over the last, 3 years in terms of this pandemic have faced this loneliness epidemic like never before. Now, again, I see some comments. I'm reading the chat. Shout out to the culture crew watching, but some folks are making light of it. And I think a lot of times, Farajii, people are afraid to admit that they're lonely. And it seems like in the American culture, we want to always be busy or pretend that we have all these friends. But really and truly, just anecdotally speaking, when I talk to a lot of ladies, in their 30s and in their 40s, they are lonely. They are seeking friendships, companions, in terms of romantic companions and others, but it's hard to find. I tell people all the time, I always felt it's difficult to make friends when you're adulting and when your life is so busy. If you have kids, that adds another layer, as well as just life seems to have kind of separated us. And human beings are, in fact, someone would say pack animals. We are made for groups and relating to one another, and that had a lot to do with us surviving and thriving. And so it is unnatural, so to speak, in terms of how our brain is wired to be kind of isolated the way we have been over the pandemic. And I think it kind of has had this kind of layover now that people have remained outside of their norm. Even before the pandemic, we saw a decrease in the attendance to, churches and other religious organizations, as well as civic organization participation decreased. And with that, we saw a change in the mental health, even in addition to the stressors of society that we've been facing in terms of like inflation and other parts of our economic pressures that we go through. But doing that now, where more people are not married than before, people don't necessarily have family and friends in the same cities with them. And then oftentimes this part that I think sometimes goes unspoken about working from home is also, some people say they enjoy it, and I have worked from home, I enjoy it too, but it's isolating. So
it's
when
very
you're
isolating.
feeling these sentiments of like feeling left out, or even deep sadness, or even depression, it's really important that you speak up and seek help, whether that's through a normal mental health provider, like a regular way of going to someone, like a therapist, or if it's speaking up to friends and family. When we see a lot of times with, even we can go back to gun violence and other things that we're seeing as far as trends in our society, a lot of it has to do with people feeling alone and that they have no one that thinks like them, loves them, needs them. We can go into the difference between, I think, how men process it, how women process it, but overall, I do think, to your point, when it comes to the politics and people trying to find a home, or people who think like them, it's easier, or people are more susceptible to becoming, really radicalized in a way that it would normally like affect them if they had these social structures around them. But again, emotionally speaking and psychologically speaking, a lot of people are feeling this loneliness if we're really truthful about it.
Hey, look, let me tell you what the crew is saying. Lana checked in and said, loneliness makes people make some deadly decisions.
That's it.
It's like when you're hungry, you start to make some decisions that are not rational, not logical. You will steal, even though your value may not be, your value is against, theft and stealing. But when you are hungry, you are going to make some irrational decisions. Loneliness, and I think, Lana, that makes a huge point. When people are feeling like they are by themselves, they are alone, they start to make some really deadly decisions. And I'm not saying across the board, but it can take you there. So I can understand why the Surgeon General is even going as far as to say it's a public health epidemic. Robin, my sister, you checked in. You said, I believe it because I don't trust anymore. Not like I used to. I would rather be alone even when I know it's not healthy for me to be. May is mental health awareness month. Absolutely, Robin. And I think that's a huge confession that even though we know that this is not good, this is not right, this is not healthy for us, it's like we're stuck, Suzette. You know what I'm saying? We're stuck in this place. And one of the things that the Surgeon General talked about in their report, they showed that Americans who have become less engaged with worship houses, community organizations, and even their own family members in recent decades, not over the past 3-4 years, recent decades, have steadily reported an increase in feelings of loneliness. The number of single households have also doubled over the last 60 years.
Yeah. And
so
again,
we've been dealing with this for a while, right? The pandemic exacerbated the whole situation. It took it to a whole different level. But Americans, we've been lonely for a long time, folks. And now with politics and everything else, it's just pushing us further and further away from each other.
I agree with you, Farajii, and I would add on to that the social media side. Even though we're connecting with wonderful people here, they say comparison is the robber of joy. So a lot of times where you would just be minding your business and you're constantly scrolling, I would encourage. I'm not a mental health professional, but I would encourage people to get off that phone and get off of social media if you're starting to feel like this sense of envy, or why didn't they invite me, or how come I'm never on vacation in Bali with these people. Like, you're constantly looking at people's highlight reels, and sometimes it's not even with like genuine people who are their friends. They're there, barely hanging on by a thread too, but they got the best post out of it. So sometimes when we are inundated with all these images of what people's lives are, and even we don't, again, know if that's their real life or the pretend life they want us to believe, but that constant sense of comparison over and over, looking at social media and what people are doing or claim to be doing, it can really affect us mentally. So sometimes taking that social media break as well might be advisable. But thank you, Lori, for being so transparent. So you definitely need to, hopefully, I say need to, but I hope you would, reach out to someone, some things. But I know it's easy to kind of get in our cocoon because our brain wants to help us to prevent pain, right?
Yep.
So pain of the past sometimes is controlling our present, which hampers our future. So we got to be very careful, though. Sometimes we have to even push past those pain points, and mental health professionals can help us do that.
My brother Marcus Jackson checked in. He said loneliness isn't necessarily about being around people. It's about a sense or feeling of connection with people. Many people are in a room full of people and still feel alone. Marcus, let me tell you, I think that's everybody, right? It's interesting because I think that as human beings, we all can have, like, you know, if you're in a relationship when you're married or something like that, right? And your partner might be like, well, it seemed like y'all two got a chemistry. You can have chemistry for a lot of people, folks. Let's not act like as human beings, we don't have the power to attract and the power to bring people into our space.
Right.
Chemistry can be done. I truly believe chemistry can happen with 2 or 3 different people in the same space. But connection, that takes it a little bit further. You know, you might be attracted to somebody because of their work or how they look or what they have on or, you know, the spaces y'all in. But connection, that's the thing. And I'm glad Marcus brought that up because, and I see that right now, that we're losing connection. Men are losing connection with women. Children are losing connection with their parents. I mean, it's like runs the gambit. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white, Asian or Latino. It doesn't matter. We are losing connection with people. And I think in this country, we do have to figure out a way to reconnect. And it starts with something very simple, finding like-minded individuals. Alana, you mentioned this. You said that you appreciate coming to this chat on the culture because it feels like you can connect with people of like-mindedness. And I think that's what it is. It's like we got to make a concerted effort to build with and I'm not talking about with the whole country. I'm talking about with black folks in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. Find something bigger
black
than
folks,
yourself.
we got to connect.
Yeah,
we got to connect, man. Like I make an effort every time I see a brother. I got to give him the international, universal sign of acceptance and you know, acknowledgement.
I'll be like, what's up? Hello.
I'm here. Peace, brother.
Yeah, no, just those simple things. Like I said, we can get the funny or the really complex part of it is that the brain will make up a story and tell you how to protect yourself when there really is no danger or less danger than you are initially perceiving. Yeah. And again, sometimes we can't be real. I know how I go at work. Everybody at work ain't your friend, so you don't have necessarily sometimes your bestie or somebody at least through the working context to talk to, and then you come home and it's just you. Oftentimes people who live alone, etc. I would just again encourage everyone as we're looking to hopefully stave this epidemic of loneliness, you know, look for places where you can connect in terms of other outside organizations, outside of the norm. You know, I went to go play volleyball the other day, Farajii, like competitive intramural volleyball, as if I was in high school. And I was like, okay, what am I doing here? But it was through a coach who said you should play team sports, try it. And again, it pushes your physicality first and foremost. You got to keep up. I'm talking about like these little kids in their 20s. And I'm like, oh my God, someone's going to hit me and I'm going to be done for the day. But it, you know, that new connection of understanding that if you haven't found your tribe, doesn't mean something's wrong with you. Your tribe is out there, right? Sometimes we have to go to a couple churches. Sometimes we have to go to, you know, to a new environment, completely different than what you're used to. And I know it takes effort, and I know after a while you just want to Netflix and chill by yourself. However, you know, human beings, again, our minds are made to connect. So sometimes, again, we want to do it virtually, which is great, but we can't neglect doing it in real life, right? That deeper connection with somebody, having, you know, a coffee, a drink, a social outing, a sporting outing, it just wonders for the chemical exchanges in your body. And again, we are wired like that. So we got to keep that in mind. And if it's getting difficult for you, seek professional help. It's nothing wrong with that. Everybody goes
do that and be intentional about connecting with people. Say hello to somebody that you never said hello to for today, folks. Be intentional. All right, folks, look, we got to take a quick pause when we come forward. Let's talk to my sister, Dee Barnes, who is the new host of the brand new show, The Frequency, that's going to be launching here on the Black Star Network starting tomorrow. We're going to talk to her about the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. She is a hip-hop journalist. She's an artist. And let's talk about the impact that the culture is making on women and vice versa. So we got a lot to talk about with Dee Barnes of The Frequency. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. Woo!
talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff.
So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. And, of course, I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Okay, I'm so excited for this next discussion because it's going to have a powerful sister who has been working in the hip-hop world, the culture, the industries for so many years. She's been talking about it. She has written about it. And she is an artist herself. She goes by that name of Sister Dee, who performed with the female duo group Body and Soul. And now we can add to her resume, folks, that our Sister Dee is going to be host of the new Black Star Network show, The Frequency, that will be airing here tomorrow. It's a weekly show that's going to air here tomorrow on Black Star Network at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm so happy to have the host of the show, Miss Dee Barnes, joining us. Dee, thank you for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. And most importantly, welcome to Black Star.
Yes, thank you, Brother Farajii. I'm here, yo. I'm here, and I'm
Wait a minute, hold on, y'all. Y'all don't understand how serious and big this is.
Wow. I'm still, taking it all in. I feel so blessed to be part, and then to be gone for so long and then come back to Black-owned media, Black Star Network. Whoo! You can't tell me God ain't good. God is.
Let me tell you something. Now, no, Dee, if for those who know, and like I know, they've been following your career. You've been putting out a lot of pieces, a number of issues. You've always had your head in the hip hop space, but to have a show like this on this magnitude on a black platform such as this one, this is phenomenal. And you know, when every time we played that piece that Roland talks about Black culture,
right?
I feel like, man, it's just my heart wells up with warmth and glow, D. It just
yes,
like, this is going to be the source of Black culture when we talk about using information. So talk to us first and foremost about this show, what folks can expect about from the frequency.
Well, the frequency, you know, I've been so blessed. I got to shout out Roland S. Martin for giving me this platform, you know, this opportunity to have a platform. And I have to shout out Jackie Martin, Dr. Jackie Martin, because she really mentored me through she did through the process and helped me get balance. You know, her show is about, she helped me get balance. So I love the show. Yes, so I have to shout them both out. But the frequency is about, you know, the poetry of Sonia Sanchez. Homegirls and hand grenades. That's what the frequency is about. Homegirls and hand grenades. I really want to use this platform to uplift women and to pass the mic to the ones that haven't been heard yet. That's like so important to me to just uplift women. You know what I mean? There's a lot of issues going on right now, as you know, with, you know, so many issues that I feel like women need to be platformed and heard more, especially Black women. We don't get that opportunity to get on the mic and say what we need to say. And as far as hip hop, with my background in hip hop, I also want to platform the artists that you never hear about. There's so many women out there that are doing, you know, great work. They have great music, but you don't hear about them. You don't see them. So I want to use this opportunity that I've been blessed with to platform all those women. And I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited.
Look, I can't tell you how excited to have you as a colleague on this platform as well.
I'm excited
to talk about this stuff, because this is so important. You know, here, you know, on the culture, we try to do our best to cover these issues, right?
Yes.
I mean, I grew up in hip hop. You know, when we started this show, I was telling my producers then, I was like, hey, I need this thing to reflect where I am, right? Like, it can't be all stuffy. It can't be all, like, I want to have some very, very important conversations.
And you do. I watch your show, you do, and I love it.
I appreciate that. So I'm really happy that a woman of your caliber, your intelligence, your experience, I mean, all that you bring is going to be uplifting this platform. And, you know, I'm just so like filled with joy, because this is exactly what I believe Black America needs. It needs to have new voices from the past, voices that have been always there. And people always say, Dee, oh, we got to have some new voices. It's like, no, let's just look at the voices that have been there and just need a little bit more of an elevation.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right.
I completely agree with you, because that's what I want to do. I want to platform these women that haven't been heard. You know what I mean? I don't know if I could expose my first guest. I'm so excited. I don't know if I want to break the surprise or whatever, but this is a woman who I feel, you know, has done so much, you know, in the culture. And I'm just excited to, like, there's several women that I'm going to be talking to that's going to be, you know, incredible. All right, I have to tell you, my first guest.
Hold on. First and foremost, because we know your Rolodex, and I'm gonna go to old school. Your Rolodex is long. You can get any woman, any artist on the show.
That's not true.
We're gonna have to talk, because I'm gonna be like, yo, D, I need a little note. Before we do that,
I wish that was true.
I want to drop, before you drop it, I want to show people the promo, and then I want to come back and bring my sister Suzette into the conversation.
Okay.
Folks, this is the promo for the new Black Star show, The Frequency, that will be launched and airing tomorrow right here on Black Star Network. Check it out.
Up next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes, our special guest, Alicia Garza, one of the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. We're going to discuss her new book, The Purpose of Power, How We Come Together When We Fall Apart.
We live in a world where we have to navigate, you know, when we say something, people look at us funny, but when a man says the same thing, less skillfully than we did, right? Right. And everybody flocks towards what they said, even though it was your idea.
Right here on the frequency on the Black Star Network. Hey! Represented for the culture! I got on my Black Lives Matter right now. You know? Ooh, I'm so excited.
All right.
I know. Okay.
All right. Let me get my sister Suzette back into the space because I know Suzette, she's smiling and excited and ready to talk to you as well.
Hi, sister.
Oh, man. Suzette is a phenomenal host herself, attorney, and she is in the mix down in Florida, man. She's keeping her blackness down there.
There's a lot going on in Florida right now.
305 in the building. We stay in the news.
That's right.
Suzette, what's your questions? What's your thoughts for our Sister D here?
First of all, heartfelt congratulations, sis. I cannot wait to join your crew and hear more about what you're offering to this space. Several people, just based on the chat, they're like, "Oh, okay, where we sign up at?" So I know we want to get the message out to the people. Is this going to be live or pre-recorded? And is it every day or weekly?
We're doing pre-recorded first for weekly, and then I hope to switch to live and every day.
Gotcha. All right. So I see you've come very correct with the first guest, Alicia Garza, Black Lives Matter. Are you going to, and I'm very big into politics, are you going to have political topics and political bent when it comes to some issues that overlap with, the pop culture, hip hop, and basically women's lives? When we talk about things like what's happening across the country when it comes to abortion and other topics, are you going to delve into those?
Yes, I'm definitely going to do that. And it really depends on the guests themselves, and their experience, because I want to bring their experience to the audience and, just have a good conversation about their feelings on the topics, my feelings on the topic, how the audience feels. So it will definitely be a mixture of that. And because I have a hip hop, background, I definitely want to bring in a lot of hip hop artists, women that have not been heard, especially with this year being the 50th anniversary of hip hop. We don't talk about the matriarchs enough.
Let's go.
We always talk about the founding fathers of hip hop, and no shade, no disrespect. I love them, all those brothers, and they are actually more supportive of the matriarchs. But I'm going to definitely try to pull in some of the women that we never get to hear. Like I love to have like Sparky D. I want to talk to Sparky D, you know what I mean? I'm hoping to have Debbie D, who's one of the original Us girls on, from Beach Street, if you watch Beach Street. I hope to have, MC Shyrock. And then today, of all days, which is such a blessing to be on the show with you guys, we just heard that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is inducting Missy Elliott. Congratulations, Missy. She is the first solo female hip hop MC to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Wow. Try to give that shout out to Missy. She's one of my favorite artists, and just things like that. I want to be able to platform and elevate, represent.
That's perfect. And more about your background. So people who don't know about you, can you talk a little bit more about your journey into this space and how you've kind of gone from performance to hosting on other platforms, etc., so people can get to know you?
Okay, so my background is definitely I'm a child of hip hop. Grew up in it. If you ever seen that movie Brown Sugar, that is so me. Represents so me. I used to hear it out in the park when I was young. Tried to get down with the scene. So I went through all of the elements with the graffiti, with the DJing. I tried my hand at DJing, but it was something about poetry that excites me. That's why I mentioned Sonia earlier, that I really love the lyric part about it. So then I started writing my own rhymes and getting with crews and had a beatbox and, just went through that whole thing until I finally put together a demo tape, shopped that around, and then I was able to form a group with my sister out here in California, Rose Hutchison, also known as All My Tea for Body and Soul. So that was my journey. Now, during that time as an artist, I got to meet all of the people that were coming up. Early days, we used to have these music seminars, and it was a way for our artists to get together,
present their music, learn about the industry, because I don't think we have that type of training now, like A&R training, that whole scene is gone, you know, PR training. we can see it from a lot of things that are going on out there, you know, in the Twitter streets, that a lot of people need some PR training, you know. So these events helped me meet all of these people, and then all of a sudden I was offered the platform to host Pump It Up. So a lot of people are familiar with me with the show Pump It Up. Pump It Up was just like Rap City or Yo MTV Raps, but I stood out because I was the first woman to host it. I was very, very young. It was on the early days of the Fox network. Half of the shows that, you know, we are familiar with, they're not even on there anymore, but I was like pre-Living Color. That's how.
Hey, Dee, I want to do this because we got to take a quick pause.
Okay.
But I want us to talk a little bit more about this, because your induction into the culture, into the music, into the lifestyle of hip hop plays a huge role. I mean, you know, my big question, adding to what Suzette asked, is did you see your life going this way? You know what I mean? Did you foresee that you know, 50 years later you're going to be celebrating? You are going to, you know, you're one of the matriarchs, that you're going to have a voice for the culture. So I want to get your take on that. And let me just tell you. Let me just tell you very quickly, Sister D.
Yes.
The Culture Crew is in full support of you. People are like, yo, how can we watch the show?
Wow.
The show airs tomorrow. It airs tomorrow. It's going to air 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's right before the culture comes on. It's going to be before us about a few hours on the Eastern Standard Time. But it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, airs tomorrow, and it's going to be every Thursday. Am I correct on that, Dee?
Yes. It's going to be every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, more with our sister Dee Barnes talking about her brand new show, The Frequency, launching on Black Star Network tomorrow. More with Suzette Speaks, and of course with you. Stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. I've been talking to my new colleague, the brand new host of The Frequency, a new show that's going to be launched here on the Black Star Network tomorrow, a weekly show. and it's hosted by my sister Dee Barnes, aka Sister D, aka author, aka matriarch of hip hop, aka hip hop scholar, aka.
Yes.
Right. Of course, I'm doing about my sister Suzette Speaks, aka TV host, aka attorney, aka the next first Black woman president.
Oh, ooh, I'm vote. You got my vote, sis. You got my vote.
What's up at the time, Friday? What's up at the time?
But no, AD, I wanted to get to take first and foremost. I want to make sure that we put the right time, and we know the show is going to be airing tomorrow.
Right.
It's a weekly show. Is there a particular time? I said 11 o'clock. I thought I saw it said 11 o'clock.
No, I thought that was correct.
Okay. All right. 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern. Yes.
All right. Eastern Standard Time. All right. And my sister Karen wanted to know what part of California you in.
Los Angeles.
There we go.
Yeah.
They represent.
We keep it Los Angeles.
We keep it.
we keep it LA.
It could be from the Bay. You could be.
I mean, I'm originally from New York, but when people ask me where I'm in California, I tell them Los Angeles. I keep it Los Angeles.
we keep it LA, man. Keep it LA.
We keep it LA.
Right. So what's the situation like in terms of, did you see yourself going into this space, like being this voice? Because when I look back at your writings and stuff, I mean, you've been a critical thinker. You're not just an artist, you're a thinker, obviously, right? You're a scholar. So did you see yourself going into this space, or was this like, did your mom or your parents or your family like, Dee, I think you would go, you would be a great accountant or something. You know what I mean? Did they have a different view?
No, I knew I was going to be into entertainment. I knew some type of way. But I used to, as a youngster, do all of the neighborhood reporting, with the hairbrush outside, talking to people, interviewing people like that weird kid down the block. She wants to talk to us, just finding out about things. I was brought up with the spirit of community. My mom did a lot of things, with the Urban League back on the East Coast, and just used to be in parts of groups, African studies and history. So I kind of grew up with that sense of community. I was in the Boys and Girls Club, part of the Boys and Girls Club, and we did a lot of work, with the community. So I've always had that base in me. So I knew I was going to go in some type of direction, and it wasn't until right graduating high school that I decided, okay, yes, the focus will be on journalism. And but at the same time, my heart was in music. So I was trying to push the rap career. You know what I mean? And I got, the highest I got was we did this compilation, All in the Same Gang, which, combined my two loves, the music and community, because it was about stopping gang violence. Yep. And it was actually nominated, for a Grammy Award, and we got to perform it at Arsenio Hall.
Wow!
Those of you that remember the Arsenio Hall show, we got to perform.
Who don't remember the Arsenio Hall show in our chat?
Well, we might have some youngsters.
Hold on.
and I know I'm older than both of y'all. So, I
used to watch him 11. I'm from Baltimore on the East Coast, 11 o'clock p.m.
Yes.
Arsenio would come on.
Exactly.
He was, let me tell you, he was one of the major, he was a key influencer for me to get into the work that I do with media.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was Arsenio because he just, what'd you say, Suzette?
He was revolutionary at the time.
Yes. Completely.
I mean, he was talking to Black people and Black entertainers and having Black conversations before we even felt comfortable saying Black.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, seriously. And so, like, his shows, I go back on YouTube and still watch some of his shows.
I do too.
I love Arsenio.
I love the way I love his, like, how comfortable he was with his
really? Super comfortable.
And the fact that what inspired me about him is that he pulled people that you would never expect to talk to, which is what I want to do. You know what I mean? I want to have people you would never expect. Oh, okay, she's talking to this one, that one. But my focus will definitely be on women. With the opportunity with Pump It Up, I got to, deal with with everyone, but this time I'm coming through for the sisters. It's gonna be sisters. I might have a few brothers on there. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't have nothing against the brothers, but I really want to platform women. You know what I mean? It's our time. What Angela's saying, and it's our time.
There you go. I wanted to ask you, because there are so many parts of the nostalgic hip hop or female hip hop artists that I remember that I was again in love with, in terms of, you know, how it was just revolutionary at the time, seeing your authentic Black self, you know, be promoted on MTV and all these other places at the time. Yes. I'm wondering, will you feature or will you try to book mainstream modern time female MCs, the Meg Thee Stallions or anybody in that genre? And are you feeling what's going on in terms of the new voices that are, you know, females in this game and how they're kind of handling that mantle?
Right. Absolutely. I would love to have some of the new ones on. I would love to have some of the new girls, because they're doing it big right now. They've broken through, I like to say, the fourth wall. They've come through and really are shining. And nothing can stop them. And it's so funny because they're getting a lot of a backlash for, you know, what they might wear or what their lyrics are. But we've been hearing the same, you know, sounds from men, and no one says anything. So I definitely want to talk to them, because I want to know what I want to share the stories of women, of their success, you know, and failures. They just want to hear their stories. And I definitely think that they have something to offer to let other women know that, you know, they can do it. They can do it. It doesn't matter. They can do it. So yeah, I would like to have the old and the new. For sure.
And I think conversations like that, to Suzette's point, I think conversations like that, I mean, they just, like, when I hear like Cardi and Megan or you know what I'm saying, like a Missy or any woman that has changed the game, you know, even, you know, Nicki Minaj, like when I really hear them talk about what they have gone through and breaking through that fourth wall, man, like, yeah, I know people who talk about all the you know, what they wear and all of that stuff, but these women really did work. You know what I mean? Like, these women did not just come into the game and say, give me. They took everything they could, and they worked their asses off, right?
Excuse me.
And nothing was handed harder than a lot of these dudes, right?
Exactly.
So it would be very enlightening to hear what some of these sisters are saying. You know, like I know some people, y'all might laugh at this, but I follow Cardi B on social media.
Right.
She's hilarious.
She's funny. She's great. But see, you mentioned all of the women that everybody mentions. I want to talk to the other women. I want to talk to Chica. I want to talk to Sarat. See, you know what I mean? I want to talk to Rhapsody. I want to talk to Rhapsody. I want to talk to Rhapsody. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many other women out there. You know what I mean? I want to talk to Bahamadia. I want to, you know what I mean? Bahamadia is still touring and doing her thing. You know what I mean? I would love to talk to Lauryn Hill. Yes. You know what I mean? You know, I want to talk to all the new and the old. You know, they're all welcome. Everybody's welcome, you know, to come through the show. But not just in hip hop. I want to, you know, spread that out into the industry. There's a lot of women in Hollywood that I would like to talk to about, you know, what they're going through, their struggles right now. There's a writer's strike, and you know, there's a lot of you know, Black content that might be jeopardized, you know, by this strike. You know, we lost. People were talking yesterday about we never got a Girlfriends ending to the season for the show that people remember, the Girlfriends, and it was because of the strike. So we might lose, you know, Black girls like that. We might lose shows.
And it's so funny, Dee, because when we had started to show off yesterday talking about the writer's strike, and I was just making a point saying, you know, this is going to affect Black content. We talk about the representation. We talk about sharing our story. Exactly. If Black writers aren't in the room, if the Black writers aren't getting paid what they're worth, we may not see that level of expression, right? Like you grew up, and like we all grew up in that time where we saw Black shows from Living Single to Martin. Like there was this plethora of Black shows, right?
Well
that
written.
reflected the culture.
Well written, exactly.
Yeah.
Well written, exactly.
Well written shows that we actually still watch to this very day.
Timeless shows, yes.
Timeless shows, right? That are classics, right? But then it's like what was happening in the 90s that is not happening in 2023, where we see like the Black shows that we have, some of them are good, but they just don't hit.
Right.
They don't hit the same way.
And they don't
Martin
last.
and Living Single and all of those other great shows that we love. Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah.
In the House.
Steve Harvey Show.
Steve Harvey Show. Moesha.
Moesha. Come on. I mean,
and they don't get picked up. They're not getting picked up for a second season. Like we'll fall in love with it. They'll give it to us, and then they won't renew it. Yeah. And that
is it because we're not watching? Or is it just that ratings and revenue?
I mean, it just seems like it happens a lot to Black shows, in my opinion.
I would add that if they don't promote a certain stereotype of Black life and Black existence and Black roles in terms of the gangster or the drug dealer or this, you know, those tend to kind of have some longevity. But regular, everyday, you know, middle class or upper middle class Black folks living their life is not really interesting to.
Well, Black life that is funny because I don't see nobody. I mean, we could talk about the Cosby Show, which was like the standard and the precedent in a lot of ways, but we don't have those funny shows like that show Black life and that we can connect to. You know,
that we're just like everyday people.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So it's going to be interesting, Dee. I am so excited that you were joining us here. Let me just share what the crew is saying. Nicole Spicer said, congratulations to Dee on her new shows. Hand claps. My man Real Brooklyn say, yep, she's from New York. She said all instead of all.
or maybe.
Or, you know.
Right.
Let's
My
go.
sister Lana, she checked in and said, I'm excited for this show. It's time to really bridge hip hop and politics. The reason we started rapping, now look at what we got. Hashtag drill, trash. Wow, there it is.
Wow.
Janae, you said appreciate the rollout promo of the frequency. We'll check it out. Thank you, Janae. Deidre, you said, yes, we have to support us by us. Can't wait to watch the frequency tomorrow. Yes.
Yay.
There you go.
This is
go.
so
The
exciting.
crew is going to be in the house. The crew is going to be in the house.
So exciting.
Right. So here's the big thing, Dee. Tomorrow you're going to be talking to our sister Alicia Garza, and you're going to have some other conversations tomorrow. I want you to pitch it. I want you to tell my crew. Tell the crew why they need to tune into the frequency tomorrow here on the Black Star Network.
Okay, you need to tune in because you're about to see some conversations with women you haven't even thought of. You're about to hear some things you've never heard of. You're about to see some things that is going to blow your mind. That's right. You're going to love it. It's going to be information, conversation, and I want to be able to elevate and uplift. We have a lot of low vibrational things happening in the world today. And with the frequency, I'm trying to elevate. I'm trying to raise the vibration, raise the conversation, and hopefully, evoke empathy. That's the bottom line. I really want to be able to bring some positivity back. I mean, I come from that era of, Public Enemy, Sister Soldier. I come from that conscious hip hop. And, no disrespect to anything that's out today. I just want that voice and that to be heard. And I think there's no better place for that type of positivity than the Black Star Network, and that's what it's about. Black-owned media. What Roland has built is all positive. You see all of the shows on here. And so I'm so honored to be, a part of this. He built a great team around me. I got to shout out my producer, Joel Cheatwood, who's been, so great and patient with me. I got to shout out also Keenan White, who's been, great and patient and just, skillful, all of that. So I'm really, really supported, and I'm really, really thankful and happy, and just, I'm just counting my blessings right now. I mean, those of you that know my story, I've been through a lot over the years, and my voice has been silenced for, too long. And when I started, I was really going through the whole imposter complex. I really, really was questioning. But, I'm back. I'm back, and I'm all the way back, baby.
Right,
and it's gonna be live, so you're gonna love it. You're gonna tune in. You know what I'm saying? It's a talk show that's gonna be positive. You know what I mean? We might get into some serious issues, but it's not gonna be any negativity, and that's what I want to bring to the platform.
There it is. My sister Dee Barnes, host of the new show, The Frequency, launching tomorrow here on the Black Star Network. Folks, it kicks off tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure y'all tune in. And if you can't tune in at the 11 o'clock hour, trust and believe it will be rerun. It will be streaming on the broadcast on the platform. And you can find all of the great shows and programming that we do here on Black Star at blackstarnetwork.com. Dee?
Absolutely.
Hey, sis, I can only say it. That I think will believe will say
you
it.
built for this, sis. Let's go.
Thank you,
Let's
sis.
go.
Thank you, sis. Oh, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Oh, it's been so long. Thank you, guys. I really love y'all. I really love y'all, man. Y'all just really, really, no pun intended, y'all pumped me up.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Hey, Dee, I gotta say it. Thank you for being so good for the culture.
Yeah, I'm representing for the culture, baby.
Sorry,
representing for the culture. You know I had to do it.
Amazing. Can't wait.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much.
All right, Dee, we'll talk to you soon, sis.
All right. Thank you so much.
Folks, we gotta take a quick pause.
I appreciate you, sis.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's have our final conversation about one journalist / attorney who says she would not date a bus driver. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
A lot of mercy.
Stay with us.
A lot of mercy.
Stay with us. Here we go on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network for our final conversation. It's a conversation that I saw that was trending, discussion that about male-female standards and expectations. This is that conversation, folks. And so wanted to have my sister Suzette Speaks to kind of speak on it because she talks about this stuff on her show. And I was like, you know what? I think she would be great to talk about this. Now, here's the thing. Let me just set this up, then we'll play the clip, Keenan. But here's the thing. So a journalist from the Griot was having a conversation with Ayala Van Zandt famed healer, life coach, Ayala Von Zun. And it came up in the middle of the conversation about the idea of this journalist who is also an attorney. Would she ever date a bus driver?
And what she said, and here we go. And
I'm gonna just let them play. Keena, can we play the clip? Can we just play this clip? Take a look, y'all.
Said that you cannot teach a man or tell a man how to be a man. So I will not ask you to indict men in this question. But I do want you to speak, Ayanla, to how women need to position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
if he owns the bus? If he owns it, if he owns the bus,
that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Okay. Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well, I would date a bus.
I'm laughing at Suzette because Suzette, wow.
The standards and requisites.
Farajii.
All right, is this journalist wrong? I mean, they having a conversation talking about men availability, men, the standards, talking about men being there to be supportive, men having the income to bring a woman into their life. And she asked a very real question. Would you date a bus driver? Suzette, what do you take of this?
My heart is hurting. My heart is hurting right now. All right, so let's just break this down. Let's do it macro and micro because I think it matters who these two people are and therefore their two individual responses. And then we can talk about what we in the culture have as our beliefs towards men and their values. So first and foremost, I don't speak for Ebony K. Williams. She can obviously share her own beliefs quite succinctly and openly. But, she is a person that, as you stated, has been around in terms of her career, graduated Loyola Law School, was on the first Black woman on Real Housewives of New York, has been kind of trailblazing her own career path. And according to sources that I kind of just randomly Googled, is a multimillionaire. She has been very successful in her career. And I think speaking from her point of view, she has very strong opinions about what she wants in a mate. And I think sometimes, again, we in the public, sometimes we don't need to be following behind what certain, if we want to call her celebrities, a celebrity are necessarily saying or doing because it may not apply to you. And I also will look at it from Iyanla Vanzant. Again, you talked about the work that she's done trying to heal our community. I think it's her real, genuine intention and talking about the gap she's seeing in the reality of what it takes to be, I think, a successful pairing, a husband and wife, long-term, monogamously, if that is the goal. Why, in her opinion, what Miss or Attorney Williams said might be a little skewed or be a little off in terms of what are we really saying that we desire? Are we desiring a man simply because of what is in his pocket, or are we desiring a good human being who would be a good father, a good provider? And I'll get to the provider in a moment. Good character, a man of integrity, a man that loves you and is compassionate and will be willing to, sacrifice for you as you should him. Now, when it comes to the culture, Farajii, pulling back now, we think about what it means to be a provider. And that's one thing Miss Ebony pointed out, saying that there are not enough providers. And I would push back a little bit and kind of take Ayanla's stance a little bit in my opinion, it talks, what she's talking about is what they have in terms of their monetary value. I would push back a little bit and describe a provider as having a provider's mentality, which is that you want a person that is genuinely compassionate and giving and loving and hardworking. And I think there's a narrative, Farajii, in our culture that wants to tell us that if somebody is not an entrepreneur or a multimillionaire now, that somehow they are not valued, they are not valuable, or somehow they're lazy, or they don't have some type of ambition that, you know, we should all have. There have always been people who work for other people. That's the way capitalism in the American system is set up. But we have had this kind of unrealistic ideation about men having to be six-figure men to be valuable. That is not true. And we have to be very careful if a person who is on average, and what women make, again, is not six figures. If a person who is an average woman, and I'm talking about in the Black community, is only looking for someone who is a high value, high earning person, we're missing the point in terms of how a person might be good in terms of their character and their desire to get up every day, go to work, and protect you and bring home the bacon, so to speak, even if it's not six-figure bacon. So this idea that we are only to value or seek out men that are making a six-figure salary is so unrealistic that it is allowing some of us to kind of stay in a, should I say, unrealistic posture when it comes to dating and trying to find that special someone. And I do think in terms of what Ebony is expressing, that you should have the right to your standards, right? To your preferences. But I do think we have to be careful when we're looking at celebrities and what they may have in the station they are now, you know, as far as their economics, their living in life, their lifestyle. That's not your lifestyle. So what she may demand or what she may think she deserves is not necessarily going to be the same as the average person's lifestyle. So do you really need that person that is going to, you know, make that type of money when you're not necessarily making that type of money, and is more about the person and the sustainability of your, you know, relationship, as opposed to looking at a man merely for his earning power, or that he should only be valued if he's a six-figure man. I think I understand both points, but I think we got to be very careful in the culture with equating value of a man with how much zeros is in his bank account.
And I mean, look, finance, what's the old saying, Suzette? Without finance, there isn't no romance.
Yes. And the number one reason people divorce is finances. This is true.
Top three reasons: infidelity, finance, or lack of communication. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that the culture has created the standard. And to your very great point you just made, the culture has created the standard of what men are. Especially, but I love how Ayanna just brought this up. She said, what you're saying is not consistent with the reality. And she said how society has put Black men. You see what I'm saying? Like what Black men don't want to, I always want to ask sisters, what Black man that doesn't make six figures don't want to make six figures?
Right. And don't hustle and get up and go to work every day.
And don't try to figure out how he gonna make six figures. What Black man has? Now, I'm not talking about some bum dude. I'm talking about a brother who goes to work every day and who is like trying to figure out, I should go back to school. Let me get some more certification. Let me do this. Let me do that. But what Black men don't want to make six figures? You know what I'm saying? To live comfortably. I mean, we're not talking about millions upon millions of dollars. We're not talking about Jay-Z money. We're talking about living comfortably, right? Brothers want to live comfortably, right? And you got to ask yourself, well, what Black man is awarded or rewarded with that comfortable living outside of entertainment and sports? Now, that happens in the engineering field. It can happen in a lot of other fields. But the question I was thinking about last night around this conversation is, if you want a corporate man, are you a corporate woman? Because if we're talking about being equally yoked, right? That's what the book says. You got to be equally yoked. If you're talking about, I want my man to be boom, 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 bop, 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 are you that woman that's going to be able to walk with that man, to stand with that man in various spaces? Can you be around CEOs? Can you be around heads of state? Can you be around all of these folks without you losing yourself in the process, right? And I think that that's the other part of the conversation. A woman says, well, look, I look good on paper. I don't care how a person looks good on paper, Suzette. Relationships are not tested on paper. They are tested in real life with real people who have real emotions, real experiences, real traumas.
Yeah, I think we got to kind of, again, there are a few things going on here, which is one of the things that you just brought up is the narrative that Black men are somehow lazy or don't want to get money. Or when we look at those of us who are in the corporate environment and working, first degree or second 2-degree people, Black men are actually making more than Black women, right? There's a narrative sometimes where how articles are written, it seems as Black women are outpacing Black men. But when you're looking at, say, even starting companies, yes, Black women might be starting more companies, but when you look at the actual revenues from those companies, et cetera, most or on average, you'll see 20,000 to maybe 30,000 in terms of income from the businesses that we're starting. So we're not opening as a whole, super lucrative businesses. And when we're looking at across the board, how many businesses out of the entire United States are run or opened by Black women, it's under 5%. So we have to be careful that, we're thinking that there are so many more women that are in a league that men aren't in. If you look up statistics, men who are in corporate or stay in corporate in their 30s and 40s and 50s, regardless of race, their income normally goes up and is higher. But what Iyanla is pointing out, the sheer number of women outnumbers the amount of men that are in those spaces.
Let me stop it right there.
Realistically speaking, everybody won't get a man if they want one. Do you understand?
Exactly.
I hope that makes sense.
If you want, and let me just add this very quickly, if you want a Black man that's making that type of money that may not be in entertainment and in sports and in some kind of corporate position, then if you want a man, then you might have to look outside the race, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? You might have to start.
Or Black working class men, which is Iyanla's point. Black women have always married working class men, but the classism that we see now is on steroids. So even though your daddy was a working class man, your uncle is a working class man, your grandfather drove a bus and was married for 30, 40, 50 years, there's this idea that something is wrong with that and that you should be searching for something way greater than your actual position and your actual lifestyle.
And let me just tell you, let's throw it in there very quickly as we gotta hop off very quickly. Each one of them working class men put your ass through college.
That part. And was good and was solid and was a pillar of his community. Because they knew how to handle
the money that they were getting.
Yes. Yes. And it was enough to give you your lifestyle and to make sure
you a decent lifestyle where come on.
There's a lot there. There's a class piece. There's, like a stereotype.
Come on. We ain't got enough time for this. We ain't got enough time for this. All right, look, I gotta stop it right here because we want to make sure we respect the time. But Suzette, my sister, it's always a pleasure to have you. Wednesdays,
thank you, Farajii.
I love connecting with you. How can folks see you and hear from you, Suzette?
Yes, I talked about this in depth, the power of the modern femininity yesterday on my show. So y'all come check me out, please, on YouTube. Just look up Suzette Speaks. You can also follow me on Instagram, all the platforms, Facebook, etc. But please come check me out and subscribe. Thank you, Farajii.
There it is. Thank you, Suzette. Suzette Speaks. So good for the culture. Thank you so much, sis. Folks, make sure y'all stay tuned. Up next at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Roland Martin Unfiltered. Follow us on all social media platforms at Black Star Network. And also check us out on our website at blackstarnetwork.com. And of course, tune into The Frequency tomorrow, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, our brand new show here on the Black Star Network, hosted by our sister, Dee Barnes. Definitely check it out. She is so good for the culture. That's going to do it for me. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. And God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Peace.